Hello everybody and welcome to another 2-inch charge. I am so sorry I'm late. I had technical issues and I was watching Daredevil with Mrs. Pointy. So yes, we've had a few issues tonight in regards to cameras just not working, which is weird because they've been working all day and then they decide to stop working today. But yes, LVO and so many good previews today. Crazy amount, in fact. It was a very impressive, preview show. I am not going to lie. Let's just get those open while we're chatting. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was probably one of the better previews that they've had for a while. Definitely off the back of the one that just before Christmas. And yeah, I was pretty chuffed by it. So yeah, we'll have a little look. Obviously, I made videos and everything else, but you know, we'll have a little chat about the a little bit more. Now that things have obviously settled down, more information has come apparent in regards to what everything is. So yeah, it's all good. But yeah, the LVO previews. It has been a fun couple of days since it in regards. But yeah, very good. All right, let's kick off with the first one. So obviously the previews were at the weekend. I come home early and watched them. Left work early, got home, and I was going to live stream it, but it was early and everyone else was in bed, so didn't bother. But hobby-wise, I made a TikTok of TikTok series, or at least part one of a TikTok series of painting the Sanguinor over on TikTok. So you can find me over there with pointy paints if you want to throw me a follow. Definitely a lot of engagement on TikTok. It's way better than Instagram. I will say that. I don't understand why I've not ever done TikTok before. Well, I do know why. It's down to the fact that I never trusted the platform. So, you know, it is what it is. Right, but let's have a little look at the LVO. So it kicked off. We had a lot. It kicked off with this straight away, which was the Undead, the new Soulblight Gravelords, and oh my, they come out hard. This is a pretty impressive ensemble of miniatures. To be fair, I'm not gonna lie. This is good. I'm a big fan of the Soulblight. I've tried to do them a number of times in the past. Yeah, I didn't realise that the actual Death Rattle skeletons that you get in this box, or is it this box? Or it could potentially be the Spearhead box. We'll have a little read of the article and go over it. But is actually a sort of retooled and refreshed version of the Death Rattles kit. So they've apparently got a few more options in there. There's something I didn't really pick up on at the time of the preview or a few days after when I made the video about this. So it's quite good. But some of the aesthetics straight away are quite nice. Now, obviously, the Undead now have their own mounted awesome cavalry leader, because that seems to be a thing now for the Age of Sigmar. A lot of factions are getting these sort of really cool looking mounted dudes. Now there is a mounted version of this already, an older one. I'm kind of wondering, is that going to be sort of taken out of production or potentially going over to the old world, which is the big rumor right now, is that obviously the old world is going to get the Undead as a playable faction at some point in the future. I don't think it'll be this year. I think it's going to be next year. But we're going to be talking about the old world later on in the stream, so just bear that in mind. Right, so yeah, this guy, he's the White King on a skeleton steed. This is a nice model. I really like this. The aesthetics of it is really quite nice. Now, I've seen a lot of people sort of pull at this weird fin on the top of its head. Now, if you don't like it, you could easily cut that off. But I do quite like it. I think it gives a very interesting silhouette to the miniature. And yeah, I quite like this. And even the alternative version. So you've got this shield. This shield is really, really nice. I'm really digging the shield. The way they've painted the armor, like the real sort of dirty, true metallics, is really quite good as well. And obviously, you can have this guy, which is your normal, sort of your generic barrow guard or whatever he's called, the White Lord. So you can have like a standard one, which is kind of nice. And this guy is still quite good as well. Again, the shield aesthetics on this is really, really, really well done. So yeah, the Soulblight Gravelords are going to be looking pretty sweet. Now, obviously, we've got these guys, which is the new Graveguard. I did say that in my predictions video that we were going to be getting these. And these are nice. A lot better than the previous incantations from Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I like these, and they're very much tying in with the Death Rattle skeletons, which is kind of nice to see. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Kind of makes me want to know what they would have looked like when they were alive with that armor and stuff, which is kind of awesome. But you got a couple of weapon options. I'm hoping that you do get the option of having either the halberds or sword and board rather than both, rather than a mix. That would be kind of interesting. And then obviously, you know, again, probably one of the not the best of reveals that they kind of previewed. We've got the Black Knights, the sort of mounted version of the Barrow Guard. So they're pretty cool. Yeah, I like this. I'm really kind of digging this. This is a nice little nod back to Warhammer Fantasy Battle. This is pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm really liking the aesthetics for these. And they look super easy to paint. Like, I reckon you could probably, you know, do these guys and get them knocked out in a really, really, really quick time. So yeah, the Soulblight Gravelord, and obviously you get the book. But obviously, this is the miniature that is stolen. I think stolen the weekend. Vordai. This model is insane. Like, it is so good. I've seen some people say they don't like it. And I think I know why, and it's probably down to the fact that they've done that sort of cherry red armor scheme, and it kind of looks a little bit out of place. I personally really, really like the paint job on this, and I've really, really like this miniature. Now that I own an airbrush, looking at something like this, it kind of like, oh yeah, I could, you know, airbrush that and then start getting all of the blends and everything in with some glazes and edge highlights, and yeah, you know, I could have a lot of fun with this. But like the vampire himself, like the detail on that face is insane. And I get it. I think it's the cherry red armor that people may not be buying into. But this is a nice miniature. Now, obviously, it's a Draconoth, so it's kind of one of like the big Stormcast Eternal dragons. It's one of the big ones, and apparently, the little lore behind this is it kind of pursued necromancy as a magic form, and kind of died and signed over a deal or something with Nagash, and Nagash was like, you know, you're mine now, and kind of screwed him, and now he's an undead dragon. It's kind of cool. You know, Game of Thrones, and you can have the undead the version, just this one, and have that running around. And what's really cool is that they've said about this one is they made a point of saying that this is going to have a war scroll that's available to the other undead factions, so Flesh Eater Courts, OCR Bone Reapers, and Nighthaunt are going to be able to take this with them, which is pretty cool. It's a nice little touch, to be fair, because it is like a really big dragon, like a really big. The question is going to ask now is what's happening to the zombie dragon, the actual current one that is out. Is this going to replace it? Who knows? We'll see. And then obviously we get this, the miniature that was leaked, and everyone was convinced it was a kit bash. And it turned out not to be a kit bash. It is a legit miniature, a vampire on a nightmare steed, and I've got a feeling that this guy is going to give serious buffs to 2 Blood Knights. I think this guy is going to buff the crap out of Blood Knights, which is pretty good to see, and it'll be pretty cool to if he does, because I love Blood Knights. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. He's a nice model. You get a sword or an axe option. You know, why would you not want a vampire with an axe? It's just so cool. Obviously, you'll always go for the best to hit roll and the best AP, the best rend. That will be determined of how people sort of build and which one to run. Like everything else in 40k or AOS, it's generally down to that. I like the fact that you got the skeletons coming out the base as well, which is really nice and sweet. And then we get the Spearhead box, which I believe this is where they talk about the skeletons. So yeah, the Soulblight Gravelords is ready to decay. So they lead by the old Right King on foot, which I'm actually surprised that miniature is in there. I would have maybe expected that one not to be in there and maybe have like a Necromancer or something, which is interesting that they haven't updated the Necromancer yet. Maybe they might do that in the future when obviously undead hit the old world, because I do think that's definitely going to happen. But they do say here it says 2 units of Death Rattle Skeletons, an all new kit that is easier to build but closely follows the design aesthetics as the old one. So the old one was like I believe was more of a push fit kit, and it was very monopose, and I'm pretty sure it was something to do with Cursed City. It was a nice kit. The aesthetics for it was pretty cool, but this is like a new updated kit, which is really kind of cool. So essentially they've got new Death Rattle, Graveguard and Black Knights all in this release, as well as the 2 vampires, which is a pretty substantial release, to be fair, for the Soulblight, which is really good. I mean, like, that is a pretty decent box. Now, you're going to have the same problem that you're going to have all the time with Soulblight, and that is, are you going to go zombies or are you going to go skeletons? You know, I'd imagine that's how the little sub-factions in the book are probably going to sort of dictate that. Just like every other book, you know, will have that sort of, do you want to go for a certain element of the army as being the main part? Like Stormcast Eternals, example, they have a sort of chamber, an army rule for the extremists sort of area, which is, you know, all of your dragons and your Dracolines and all that kind of stuff. And then they have one for like the warrior chamber, and they have one for the ruination chamber. So I've got a feeling that the Soulblight will be the same. They'll have one that's sort of centered around the skeletons, and they'll have another one that's centered around the zombies as well. And the vampires will probably get their own, or maybe sort of mix in and amount amongst them. But if you want a pure skeleton army, you can pretty much do that now, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, that is obviously them, and they get the really nice book with a vampire on the front cover. Yep, I'm digging it. And obviously there's the new Black Library novel as well, and we get an interesting sort of roadmap. Now, a lot of people have talked about these, and there's been a lot of discussion. 2 of them are very obvious. The third one, not so much. So we'll go through it. So the Iron Jaws are already out. The Gloomspite Gits, or the Git mob, are probably due any time now. I would imagine that now that the Eldar are going on pre-order, that the Gloomspite Gits, or the Git mob, the wolves and everything, they will probably be the next to be on pre-order. And then we'll probably get the Emperor's Children, or the full release of the Imperial Guard. I'm expecting the full release of the Imperial Guard, and then we'll get the Soulblight Gravelords, and then we'll get the Emperor's Children. After that, we pretty much have the Iden of Thekin, and we can make a video about predicting what that's going to get. I would love it to be Crab Cavalry. It would be cool. The Nighthorn, I think Hex Wraiths are probably going to get a new kit. And any of the kits that are mixed in with the old world or the old fantasy battle, I've got a feeling they will probably get like yeeted and new AOS kits to replace them. Because like the Deakin are an entire AOS faction. They've never been in anything but Age of Sigmar, so there's no issue for that. Crab people, hell yeah, Pete. Hey, dude, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you too. I think there's just an element of the army needs. I think a unit of heavy infantry that are big crabs, crab-like people, would be really cool. And I think the aesthetic would be fitting for the Deepkin, and it would work. Either that, or I want elves riding giant crabs. We have a turtle, they have eels. I want a giant crab. I think we need more crabs. It has to happen. Has to happen. As for the on the horizon, so you've got that. The top left is definitely 100% Blades of Corn. That is happening. That is Corn right there. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the top of that picture is actually the top of a Blood Warrior's helmet. Is the actual Corn crest on the top of the helmet. If everyone doesn't know what the top right one is, are you really an Age of Sigmar fan? Because clearly that is Stormcast Eternals. I'm only joking. It's Caradron Overlords, of course. God, you know. I'd be interested to see what the KO get. I think that's a faction that definitely needs a lot of love. They need more units. They need more units and less heroes. I don't think they need any more ships unless you're going to do an uber big ship. But I definitely think they need more in the line of stuff. More infantry, more units. I would like to see a more sort of semi-naked unit. And I like the Berserkers for the Leagues of Votann in 40k. I'd like to see a unit similar to the aesthetics of them, but in the Caradron Overlords. Sort of like a engineer sort of crew type unit that's kind of running around with big, massive spanners, which would be kind of cool. So yeah. And then the bottom one. Now, this is the one that I've seen a lot of people sort of having the discussion on. My initial thought of that was it's probably going to be Daughters of Cain. Then other people are saying it's probably going to be Flesh Eater Courts. I'm now looking at that as it's probably going to be Flesh Eater Courts. The reason why is obviously there's so many things that have changed with the Soulblight Gravelords that are dual kits that were in multiple different armies. And I think kind of like how they're doing it with Chaos in 40k, I think they're probably just going to sweep and get the Death factions done and get all of those updates, because I keep saying this, I do think at some stage in the very near future we will see an undead faction in the old world, and I think this is the groundwork ready for that. So kits can be put back into the old world, and the Age of Sigmar undead kits can be used for Age of Sigmar. But yeah, it's definitely a zoom in on the current. Yeah. I was looking at the wing, and it's kind of the holes, like here, these holes here, and this one was kind of got me. I think it's because it's in black and white. It threw me at first, and it does look very similar to that wing that the Daughters of Cain flying unit has, like that weird bat-like wing. But yeah, the more I look at it and the more I compare it side by side, the more it does probably going to be the Flesh Eater Courts. But yeah, either way, it's a good time for the Age of Sigmar. I do think that there's something ultimately not going well for AOS right now. And we were talking about this last night at the club in regards to, if you look at where 40k was this time last year, when 40k released, there was a lot more 40k coming out at the start of the year after its release. Whereas Age of Sigmar, we've had one battle tome. We're essentially, 4 battle tomes in, and we're already near the end of January already. I think by this point, 40k had Space Marines, Tyranids, Admech, Necrons, and then they'd already had 4 before Christmas, and then literally straight after Christmas, Dark Angels dropped, and then it was what, Chaos Space Marines were out. There was like 3 or 4 books coming real quick succession. Where in Age of Sigmar, that's not happening, which is a bit. I don't know. I don't know if it should be. Should you be concerned? Is there an issue? I mean, it's not like they're putting a lot of work in. If we go by the Auric Warclans books, it seems to be just a copy and paste of the indexes. So, you know, there isn't that much in the way of in regards to work going on here. So I don't understand, you know, what is the delay in regards to the AOS stuff. Are they prioritizing 40k over it? Is there are they maybe moving away from the 3-year edition and pushing it out now to maybe a 4-year? Who knows? You know, but there is definitely less AOS coming out at this, even though we have a new edition that's just dropped, compared to how 40k was rolled out for 10th edition. But that's AOS. I'm sure I could pretty much make a video on that, you know, completely on its own. But yeah, I think they are definitely moving to a new extended edition cycle, so they don't need to rush them out. Yeah, it does feel like that. It does feel like that. And yeah, it does, because you've got to remember as well that 40k is getting a new faction, Emperor's Children. There's potentially going to be more in the future. There's definitely hints at other things coming in the future, although Chaos Demons is pretty much being binned. Chaos Demons is pretty much probably being binned from AOS as well, but if the rumors are to be true, then there's at least 2 new factions coming for Age of Sigmar in the form of the Shadow Elves and the Malkith and, well, the old Dark Elves, as well as the Chaos Dwarfs as well, which are heavily rumoured and hinted at of coming at some point in this edition. So there's a lot coming, and you know, their slow rollout of this so far kind of makes me think that maybe are we moving away from the 3-year edition? I hope we are, because I think it sucks balls, and I think it's one of the worst things that Games Workshop are doing. They can't balance the game enough. They can't give the armies enough love and attention that they need. Some armies are only getting 1 model, because that's probably all the sculptors could fit into their schedule. And sometimes it feels like you're just getting a new book for the sake of getting a new book. So, you know, I did prefer older editions where they were about 5 years, a 5-year cycle. Yes, okay, you know, you weren't getting a new codex every edition. Case in point, Jakari. But you know, you were able to enjoy in collecting your army without having to fear of going, I bought my army and now 6 months later there's a new edition. Because you got to remember, like, if they are rolling it out to 3 years, then 40k is literally getting 11th edition next year, and it doesn't feel like 3 years. It feels like we've only just got 10th edition. I personally think they should maybe not do another edition for a while and kind of just bring out a new starter set for it, and then an updated rulebook with all of the changes and FAQs in it. But yeah, I just don't. Yeah, you know what? We'll move on, because I could probably rattle on about that for ages. Right, 5 years would be great if they could keep the fresh with it. Well, you could do. I mean, the General's Handbook and the chapter approved every year gives you a new set of missions, new rules, new twerks and peaks of how to play it, and I think that would be really good, because you could get 5 of them. Well, 4 of them, because let's be fair, you're 6 months after and 6 months at the end of the edition. You're not really doing much in that, in regards to the edition's only just rolled out, and then at the end you're kind of into that campaign book phase section. And if they extended the cycle of the editions, we're not going to see what happened last year in Age of Sigmar 4 and in 40k, where you are getting the last book of that edition and you're getting the first codex going up of the new edition on pre-order around about the same time. So you know they were, you know, the end of the end chapter of the edition was still being sold, while the new codexes for the and battle tomes for the new edition were going up on pre-order. That, or the launch box, that is just not a good place to be in. It's not good for your consumers. It's not good for the game. It's just not good in general. And it's kind of off-putting. And I think that's kind of shown that if they can't fit everything in that 3-year cycle, then they need to push that cycle. They need to make it bigger. They need to make it bigger. Games Workshop are always going to make money, you know, so rather than try to squeeze it out with a new edition, it's why I don't agree Heresy is getting a new edition this year, because that studio just can't do it. But yeah. Then we got the Black Library previews with Minska Lensk and Maliev Witchblade. Now, I've not read any of these books. I have read 1 or 2 of the AOS Gotrek novels, and I've met the elf character. She's kind of cool. Gotrek is one of my favorite fantasy characters. I have all of the Gotrek Felix novels from the old world. It's a really, really awesome series of books, but I kind of feel that Gotrek in AOS is kind of missing a big part of the personality of what made Gotrek and Felix so good, and that is Felix. Felix obviously is dead, or he's a Stormcast Eternal, and I kind of feel that that's kind of missing from the duo, and they've kind of tried to replace Felix with this elf, and I just don't think it works. So for me, you know, it's good, it's fun. It's kind of interesting to see the world through Gotrex's eyes, and obviously the mortal realms are not the old world, and there's a lot of things that are not the same. But he is basically a demigod now. You know, he is literally a walking avatar of the dwarven gods. So, you know, he was a hard little bastard in the old world, but he's just ramped up to 20 now. But yeah, but I've not read this, but this is a really nice set of little command squad models, and I reckon you could probably do some really cool stuff with this. Like, you know, if you are a guard collector, this is an actual nice set to get, just to have as an alternative command squad for your Cadians. Speaking of Cadians, I did watch Cadians last, the Return to Cadia today, which is the Warhammer Plus show, Bolter and Hammer, or Hammer and Bolter, one or the other, and did that, and it was pretty good. Kind of cool. I'm not going to spoil anything. I was going to do a reaction video, but then looked into how to do reaction videos and realized that I probably would get a copyright strike on my channel, so I chose not to. So yeah, yeah. But this is a nice little set. So yeah, it is nice. I've not read any of these books at all, but she's pretty cool, and the other little, like, I like this guy's bionic arm. That's pretty sweet. Obviously, Hell's Last Stand, which is the next novel, and then we have this bird, the daughter of Cain, sort of like little Gotrek's little friend. I'm not. It's a nice model. Tartan paint job looks great on that trooper. Yeah, tartan is an incredibly hard thing to paint. And that is, yeah, but it's the heavy metal team, so you know you kind of expect it from them right now. But yeah, this is an interesting miniature. You know, it's kind of, are we getting some of that hints at the Shadow Elves sort of aesthetics in this? She is quite nice, and she's a pretty cool character in the books, but she's no Felix. So obviously she has getting her own novel, Shades of Cain, which will be kind of interesting. But we're apparently getting more in the regards to the Black Library. I believe next month there's about a week worth of Black Library coming, which would be kind of interesting to see what they're going to show there. And then we get into the old world, which, again, it wasn't exactly a massive, wasn't a massive secret. We all knew the High Elves were coming next. The High Elves were the big poster child of 8th edition Fantasy Battle before it was discontinued. And they got one of the biggest range refreshes I've ever seen GW do in Fantasy. A lot of this range went from metal to plastic. The Islands of Blood box was amazing. We're going to touch on that in a little bit in a second. But yeah, the battalion, I think, I've seen a lot of people complaining about this. And personally, I quite like this battalion. This battalion gives you everything you want from an elf army. You've got spearmen, you've got bowmen, you've got 2 chariots. Those 2 chariots can be either built as the normal chariots or the White Lions chariots. Those spearmen and archers can be built as standard spearmen or archers, or you can get a little bit imaginative, a little bit creative, and create yourself some Lothorian Sea Guard out of them, which is kind of cool. Now, during the live stream, they talked about the Arcane Journal, the flavor pamphlet, as 90% Geek calls it. And this is kind of an interesting book. Now, there's some really, really interesting things in this. The armies in there are really quite good. The Lothorian Sea Guard army sounds really awesome, and they have a really cool character for that. I think Chase and the White Lions are also going to be in there as well. But one of the coolest things that they talked about was that it has a conversion guide inside the book. So if you are wanting to build certain units out of some of the elven kits that are coming, you are able to do that, and they show you how to do that. I think that is an incredibly good touch. And that is really nice to see GW doing that. I kind of wish they'd done it with the Bretonnians, because the Bretonnians, you have a couple of armies in there. You obviously have your Crusader army, you have one of the other armies, and then you have the Border Prince army, which the Border Princes are almost Bretonnian but almost Empire. They kind of meld both armies together, and there are certain parts of the army that come from the Empire range. Now, it would have been nice to have a little bit of a conversion guide. I've shown some really cool non-Bretonnian and non-Empire, so the Brigands kits, to sort of create that sort of Border Prince type feel. So I kind of feel that they've missed out on that one in regards to the Bretonnians, but it's good to see that the High Elves have definitely got that in there, which is kind of cool. So the transfer sheet, and this, I think, is probably the reason why, if you're an old school player like myself, who remembers the old world, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, you will remember that those shields had big bits of plastic that you stuck on the front of them, and they had different symbols. Now, it made the shields incredibly thick. They were kind of annoying to paint. You could paint the top, but then you had to paint around the sides and at the top and the bottom, and it was a bit annoying. Those don't have them anymore, because the transfer sheet kind of covers you, and you're going to be able to put the decal on the front, which is really, really, really good. Something that we didn't have back in the day, and I think it just makes the spearmen look so much better. You're still going to get the incredibly chunky spears, like really thick plastic spear shafts. Yeah, it's an acquired taste, but I quite like that. I do have some High Elves in the bottom of my cabinet. I've got a set of the Islands of Blood. Now, I would be tempted to get into High Elves, but they are stupidly powerful. And yeah, I'm kind of waiting for the Beastmen. That's the army I'm waiting for, to be honest. But this decal sheet is really, really sweet. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 different shield designs there, which is really, really, really cool. Yeah, so, that is brilliant. That is probably one of the better sort of things that are coming out with this. It's really, really nice to see. And you get some banners as well and other things. we're obviously going to get some new models. We've got the Lord of Chase, some really pretty cool lore behind this guy that these guys can only wear that big lion if he served in the bodyguard of the Phoenix King. So that guy has been a part of the Phoenix Guard at some stage before coming back to Chase to take over as commander of one of the armies, which is really, really cool. It's a really nice model. Like, yeah, like there was I really hope they bring back the Lord on foot, and he had the shield, and he's kind of sort of stood on the rock, and he was a beautiful miniature. I really hope when they bring back the Made to Water, that they bring that back as well, because that was a stunning miniature. But we'll see if it's shown in this. And obviously the new character, the Sentinel of the Silent Isles, she's basically in charge of the Lothlorien Sea Guard, and she's going to be the main character for the Arcane Journal and the sort of expedition fleets for the Lothlorien Sea Guard. And these are the ones that have bumped into the completely brand new faction, which we're going to talk about very, very shortly. Coming to the old world. It's all down to her and her fleets, and everything else is the reason why they're pretty much kicking around the old world in the first place. So we're going to also get the Alarian Reavers. Now, when I did my initial video, I literally thought that was the normal kit that you got in the Islands of Blood. Apparently not. It's amazing what happens if you actually read the articles rather than just looking at the pictures. This is a new kit, an entirely new kit. It's kind of they've very similar, if not almost identical, to the original Alarian Reavers kit that you got in the Islands of Blood. So if you already have that kit, you're going to be able to get this and have them next to each other, and you're not really going to tell the difference. But they're just a little bit better tooled, and they've just got a few additional options on there, which is really, really good. So that's quite nice to see that that's kind of been given the death rattle sort of experience from Age of Sigmar. Then the returning kits, we've got one of the coolest dragon miniatures ever. And I'm pretty sure that this was one of the first plastic dragon kits that Games Workshop did. I'm pretty sure that was. And it's really cool. It's not as good as the black dragon for the Dark Elves, but you know, maybe one day that will actually come back to the old world. But this is pretty sweet, and you're gonna obviously build this in with your Lord or your Mage on it. And the dragons are super popular right now, so you know, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a very welcome kit to return for High Elf fans, because dragons are baller, and they're really good. They can be dealt with, and there are a lot of things in the game to deal with dragons now, and now people have worked out how to do it. But at the beginning of the edition, it was very funny watching dragons just tear through everybody. Unless it was against my lord, my Bretonnian lord, with his monster slaying sword of doom and killing those big bone dragons for the Tomb Kings, which was hilarious. A really cool kit, and obviously if you were playing Cities of Sigmar in Age of Sigmar 3, you would have probably had one of these, or at least the fiery one, which is obviously the Phoenixes, which is good to see them back in the old world. And then we get some plastic kits. Now, we've got this dual kit. You get the banner and the guy on the horse. You get the elf on the horse, and you get the elf on the floaty stones. And then you get this sort of battle mage as well. Now, the one thing that's not there is, if you know the Islands of Blood kit, you'll know that it come with a griffin, a Lord on a hippogriffin. That model has not been shown at all. In fact, wasn't shown during any of this preview. It isn't in the rulebook. It isn't in any of the army books. There is no pictures in any of the old world publications for that model, which makes me think that one of the new models that the High Elves are going to get is probably a Lord on a hippogriff. And I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't also make Altharion the Grim. Because he's quite famous of riding a hippogriff, and he is a very famous leader for the High Elves. And there's also no techless in Tyrion either right now. So, and I'll be shocked if at least techless isn't in the book, the Arcane Journal, for rules wise, because if I remember rightly, around about this point in the timeline, this is when the High Elves get into the old world and basically hook up with Magnus the Pious and basically form or start the foundations and teaching the humans magic, which ultimately then goes into creating the colleges of Magicka, which would be kind of awesome because it then brings us into the first War of Chaos with Azavar Kull, and that is one guy I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them do on the tabletop. So we've also got more. Like I said, there is a lot coming for the High Elves. We've got the Dragon Princes, beautiful kit, absolutely awesome kit, scary unit on the table, but beautiful kit. We've got Silver Helms. People rip into this kit, but you know what? It's old. It's like 20, 30 years old, and there's a certain element and certain charm to it. The Spearmen, or the Lothlorien Sea Guard, which I'm pretty sure has been given a little bit of new stuff, but it could just be the same one from the Islands of Blood. It does definitely look like that. And then you've got the Phoenix Guard, which was one of the 8th edition plastic kits. And obviously they were featured in Age of Sigmar and the Cities of Sigmar army for quite a few editions. Then you've got the new Swordmasters of Hoeth. Again, these were from Islands of Blood, although that banner at the back is a new banner. And I'm pretty sure that this this musician is new as well. And this champion down here, that's the normal champion, but this guy here with the horn and this horn, these two guys are different. This is definitely a different banner to that one. So yeah, I'm wondering if this unit has been given a couple of tweaks as well. Then the Plastic White Lions, again, another awesome kit from 8th edition. And then the Shadow Hunters and the Sisters of Avalon. Again, more and more kits from 8th edition. Then if you want to buy Spearmen and Archers separately, they are obviously going to be sold separately as well. But to be fair, if you got 2 battalion boxes, that would probably give you all your core infantry you need. The rest of your army, you're going to be building it with more of the elite units anyway. Then we've got the Chariot, the Sky Chariot, or the Sky Cutter being pulled by the Giant Eagle. They have said that the Eagles are going to be coming back as separate units, which is kind of cool. I believe they're going to be in metal though. And then we've got obviously the bolt throwers as well, which is cool. And then the chariots, which we get in the battalion kit, which is a really nice plastic kit. And then we get some old school metals. We get this guy. He's a character for the White Lions, Coriel, and we get this bird here, the Handmaiden of the Everqueen. Now, as far as I'm aware, that miniature was fine cast, and I don't think it's ever been made in metal. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how she fares in metal. It's quite nice, but it's also kind of cool that they are there. There are obviously other high elf miniatures in metal that I would like to see returned, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we do, oh, well, it'll be in the other article. There is going to be a roadmap as well. Let's just jump to that. So we'll finish off with the old world now. They previewed this guy, which is a named character for the Beasts of Chaos, which is really cool. I love this model. I'm really looking forward to the Beasts of Chaos for the old world because they're no longer having to do the skirmish thing, and they can kind of sort of perform like a normal army, which is so good. And I just want to see what they do for them because they're no longer a part of Age of Sigmar, which means they've gone entirely back to the old world. And I'm hoping they get a lot of love for the old world because they really do deserve it. I want to see the other Bestigors. We've got normal Bestigors, but I want to see Cornagors and Pestigors and Slangors and the Zinchigors, the cult Gors come back. And that would be really, really cool. But yeah, this model is really nice, and I really like its weird, messed up beastie familiar as well, which is kind of cool. And obviously, there's some nice artwork for the beasts. You know, beastmen, goatmen, they are the goat, which is also cool. So the next two factions are obviously going to be the beastmen and the wood elves. And then they teased this picture. Now, it took the internet about 10 minutes to work out where that photo, this little picture down at the bottom, come from. And it's basically, I should have got it up already, but there was artwork done for Cathay for the Total War 3. Now, if you've played that faction, you'll have seen it before. It's the mounted general and all of the army, and then you've got the sort of mountains in the background. This is actually, this picture is one of those mountains in the background of that artwork. So obviously, there is a lot of rumours kind of saying that Cathay is going to be the first big army coming to the old world, which is kind of cool. Really is kind of cool. I do think that this is going to cause a slight problem in the old world in regards to the fact that you're going to have this amazing new army, and it's going to be entirely new sculpts. You know, you're going to have the dragons, because at this point in time, they are still ruled by the family of dragons. So you're going to have the Dray dragon. You're going to have the sort of the black one. You're going to have the blue one. All, you know, you're going to have them, and you're going to have the peasant soldiers, the Jade warriors. You're going to have the terracotta sentinel. You're going to have the big sort of lantern airship thing that has the flamethrower on it. You're going to have the sort of weird Chinese sort of walled artillery guns. You're going to have all of the really cool stuff from Total War 3 on the tabletop. The problem is that every other army in the game is going to be made up of predominantly models that are nearly 30 years old. So, you know, what's probably going to happen, and you can guarantee, because you know what Games Workshop fans are like, when the army drops, every man and their dog who plays the old world will probably start a Cathay army. So when you go to events and when you play with your friends, everybody's going to be running them, because they're going to be the new shiny. They're going to be the new thing. They're going to look a lot better than all of the other factions that are currently out. So yeah, it's I think that's going to be the biggest issue that they're going to have. And I think if they ever do get round to bringing the Kislev in as well, which I do think they are going to do. I know there's the people saying that due to the current conflict in Europe with Russia, that's the reason why they're not bringing the Kislev out. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think Games Workshop really care about that. I think they only really care about making money. So, you know, and they know fine well that if they dropped Kislev and Polar Bear Cavalry, people would buy it. So, you know, I think there's certain things that they can do, and they don't necessarily need to make them full on looking like Russians. And there's a lot of aesthetics in there from likes of this sort of the Prussians from the Baltic states, and the Swedes, and a few of the other Baltic nations in and around that area. That's kind of got that aesthetic. And I think there's a tabletop game sort of about that sort of European Baltic conflict with Latvia and Estonia and Prussia and Sweden and the sort of northern Poland and all of that kind of stuff. And you know, your winged lancers are pretty much there in history. So, you know, there's a lot of references that are not Russian or Ukrainian in the army. So I think, you know, maybe I'm not buying into that. So I think we will get Kislev eventually. I just think that they probably, when people are really going to want to dig giant dragons and Oriental troops a lot more than Polar Bear Cavalry. I don't know. I'm probably on the fence for Polar Bear Cavalry, to be fair. I'm a big fan of my Polar Bear Cavalry. But yeah, Old World is looking pretty sweet, and it's going to be a very interesting year in regards to it. And I can't wait. So, Necromunda. Now, I don't play Necromunda. I don't really follow Necromunda. I used to play Necromunda many years ago. And it's kind of cool that it's now moved out of the Hive and into the Ash Wastes. And these are the guys that live in it. And this is basically like an upgrade set to make your Ash Waste Nomads look even better. For me, these guys just scream Chaos Cultists, or perfect for Nurgle as cultists. I think these would look really good as Nurgle cultists. And yeah, and you get the Ghibli Beasts, which is kind of cool. And you get these. Now, it would be pretty awesome if these parts fitted onto other kits like Guard and stuff. They probably won't. But yeah, I think you could probably, you know, make a nice warband. Or even a unit with these for potentially for something like a Chaos Cultist unit or something. But they do look pretty cool. I really like the sort of helmets. They're very much inspired by the Fremen from Dune, clearly. And they get their own book. And apparently this is very much like the house book that the other houses have got. So, you know, they're kind of getting that level of love. And a new piece of terrain, which is a piece of terrain that we've already had before. It's kind of just armoured more, which is kind of cool. And some Ruined Zone Mortalis. Yep, I like that. I think this is a really good thing, and they should do more of this for boarding actions. And I think that should be the way forward. But yep. So, Mr. Pete was right, if you're still watching. The Thanatar, we got to see it. They did show some 30k off, even though they sort of made a few sort of things about it, which was quite funny. I am still alive. So yeah, it is kind of cool that we're getting that, and yeah, it is obviously the Thanatar in plastic, which is awesome. Now, one thing I do like about it is it's pretty much exactly like the resin kit. So at some point, you know, we're going to get this. Now, I'm not too sure if it's a dual kit or if it's just an upgrade set for the existing Thanatar, or if it's going to work like the Leviathans, where you're basically getting two kits of the same model, basically just armed differently, a close combat and a shooting version. This is probably going to be the way that works. It'll be the Thanatar with just slightly different build. I think the Dorado Dreadnought is also the same. You kind of have two kits now, and each kit has a different separate loadout of weapons. But yeah, this is a nice model. It's nice to see. I think Horus Heresy is interesting. I'm looking forward to tomorrow because they kind of make a nice little teaser at the end of this article for the Horus Heresy in regards to tomorrow, which is down here. So Heresy Thursday will continue on Warhammer Community, which is tomorrow, and it's going to be a new character. Now, I have racked my brain about who this could be, and yeah, I've no idea. I'm hoping it's a Salamander or a Raven Guard, but probably not. But if it's going to be anybody, I think it's potentially going to be the sort of lone operative console guy. He's kind of a bit like a one-man army for the Raven Guard. I think he could potentially be getting a model. The main reason why he's mentioned in the Beta Garmin campaign book, and I believe he's also mentioned in one of the other campaign books. So he's kind of mentioned a few times, and it kind of would make sense that they give him some rules and a new miniature, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be doing a video on that tomorrow as soon as it drops. Heresy Thursday normally drops around about lunchtime, so expect that, you know, not long after. We've done that. And then we get into this guy, who was a very interesting... We've seen this guy before Christmas. His sprue got leaked. I am now 100% convinced that Games Workshop are doing this deliberately, sending out these sprues in people's orders, knowing fine well that they turn up on the internet, and then it sort of creates huge amount of hype. And this guy, it is exactly what happened with him, just like Dante and everything else. So we got to see the sprue first, and then we started seeing pictures of him being built. He's basically a new hero or HQ for the Death Guard. He's like another Lord type, a bit like the Lord of Contagion and the other ones. But basically, he kind of grows the diseases in his chest, and he kind of coughs them into this turbine thing on his back, which is this big thing on his back here, and then he kind of like spews them out of this vent. And that's a gnarly looking sword. Like, that really is gnarly. And I love the paint job on this leather as well. And then he has a pretty cool looking plasma pistol. But yeah, as miniatures go, he's nice. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's pretty cool. I like the fact that his like stomach is kind of stapled back to his armor to hold everything in. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, he's a nice miniature. If I was collecting Death Guard, I'd be excited to get this guy. Yeah, and it's a very weird mix of armor, because that isn't Mark III, although it is Mark III, because it has the aesthetics for some parts of it, but the legs and things are not Mark III, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I like this model. I like this model a lot. And obviously we got a roadmap for Warhammer Da 40k. So obviously Eldar pre-order this weekend. Death Corps of Krieg army box is already out, and we're just waiting for the main release for that. And I think that will happen probably after the Gloomspite Gits. And then obviously the big one is the Emperor's Children are probably going to be dropping. I think we'll get the army box probably, and let me do some little bit of maths. I think we'll probably get the army box either going on pre-order on the 15th of February, or it'll go on pre-order on the 22nd of February. I think that'll be it. I think that'll be it. I'll be highly surprised if it goes on pre-order before then. I think the 15th or the 22nd are the two dates I think it will go on pre-order. I am 100% getting it. Expect a lot of love for the Emperor's Children. I am going so hard on them. No pun intended. But yeah, it's going to be amazing. But it's a good year for Chaos. So World Eaters are getting their second wave. That is exciting, because obviously the rumors a lot around this are looking pretty sweet. The Juggernaut cavalry unit box of three models in it. Sounds awesome. The potential Terminator Lord on foot with the Terminators, and I believe there's the Butcher Surgeon is apparently supposed to be getting a miniature as well. So yeah, it looks pretty good for for World Eaters in regards to their sort of second wave to sort of really expand on that faction that come out at the end of 9th edition. Death Guard, I think personally we've already seen what they're getting, and that's that one character model, and I think that's it. I think that's going to be sort of the smallest release for the Chaos over in the what's coming next element. And then the Thousand Suns, there's a lot of speculation about this. There's talk of them getting some form of autonomer type robot thing, and in the Heresy they do have those robots and they do make use of them. Personally, I think they're going to get some form of psychic dreadnought, because they had them in Heresy. They were the only legion to have sort of psychic dreadnoughts, contender dreadnoughts. So I think they're probably going to get a amalgamation of some form of like psychic Hellbrute, and I think that's what they're going to get. And because I don't think they need any new HQs, because they've got an absolute crap load of them. And then we have on the horizon, so the 4 codexes that are going to be coming. Again, more than Age of Sigmar. Like, if you look at this picture compared to the Age of Sigmar one, there's a lot. So yeah, on the horizon. So the top left is 100% Grey Knights. The top right is 100% a Salamander, and we'll talk about that in a second. The bottom left is a Black Templar, and then the bottom right is a Chaos Knight, from the Chaos Knight Codex from the front of it. Now, I've not... I really want the Grey Knights to get a major refresh, but I don't think it's happening. I think they're probably just going to get a new unit, and I think it's going to be the Purifiers. They'll probably get a new unit of Purifiers, and that's it. Because that kind of fits in with Crow. Maybe they might get an upgrade kit for the Nemesis Dread Knight. But I don't think they're going to get a major refresh like everybody's hoping they get. I think they're going to be still stuck with the Mini Marines for quite some time. The Black Templars, what could the Black Templars possibly get? What could they get? A new character, a proper chaplain, a proper unnamed chaplain. I don't know what they could possibly get. They've pretty much got everything that they've ever had. Maybe Sword Brethren Terminators. That would be kind of cool. You know, if any chapter deserves their own Terminators, it's definitely the Black Templars, because they aesthetically they wouldn't look like everyone else's. And the Knights, I've heard all sorts of stuff from. There's like a Chaos version of the Tyrant Knight, the big one, to sort of like smaller, more Chaos versions of the War Dogs, rather than just the existing armatures with like an upgrade spring. So it should be interesting to see what they're getting. But the biggest one that everyone wants to talk about is that Salamander. Is it a Codex? Is it just a generic character coming? I did have a YouTube comment on my video for when I made a video about the Salamander Codex, Codex Salamander, which, yes, I completely agree, it was 100% clickbait, but you know, that's the game. That's how YouTube's played. But yeah, the comment was pretty good, and it kind of got me thinking. And basically, this person in my comment section basically said that obviously the end of the edition is at the end of this year. So the end of this year, we're going to be moving into the campaign element of the edition, where we roll in with a narrative story that leads us into 11th edition. And that is potentially what this is for, that it'll have the new Space Marine characters. So there'll be this, probably Vulcan Heston, Lysander, Pedro Cantor, and potentially Cato Sicarian coming back, because there is artwork out there of Cato Sicarius as a Primaris Marine in his Primaris armor. So there is artwork of him, but there's just no miniature for him. So I think we'll probably get Lysander, Pedro Cantor, Vulcan Heston, and Cato Sicarius. And his idea was that it was potentially going to be the campaign books at the end of the edition, and that would potentially lead into a new Primarch coming, which was probably going to be Vulcan. I like that idea, and it sounds quite good, although I do think Russ is the next one to come back, purely because the Space Wolves are getting such a huge update and such a massive refresh. I kind of feel like, yes. I'm actually working on a series of videos about the Primarch, so I'm not going to go too much into my theory of how Russ comes or why he goes, but that'll be discussed in that video, so we'll do that. But either way, I think it's going to be pretty impressive. Very much interested to see what they do. Like, are we going to get a unit of snipers for the Salamanders? like that are going to be shown as a cosmetic skin in Space Marine 2? Is that like a subtle hint at what kind of what we're getting? Who knows? I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff for 40k either way this year. And yeah, they're definitely going strong this year. Like Ember's Children, World Eaters, Death Guard, Thousand Bombs. I think the Space Wolves will be like obviously later on this year, end of this year, or first army that we get next year. And I think it's going to be a huge, huge update for them. But yeah. And then finally, we've talked about them, but yeah, we're going to end on them. The Ember's Children. I am so excited for this army. It is unbelievable how excited I am for this army. Like, really cannot wait. There's some really nice information that we've obviously been given is that the demons are going to be a part of it, or the Slanesh demons. Fulgrim is returned, which we can see him there. And like, look at the size of him compared to that Land Raider. He's huge. The entire range that they've shown is just so good. Now, there are some things that I really want to know because I want to get them now. Like, are they the only tanks that the Ember's Children are getting? Rhinos and Land Raiders? I really hope we get access to Predators. Like, because I want a couple of Predators painted pink. Oh yeah, can't wait to paint pink. But it's good to see the Demon Prince right in the middle. The Mauler Fiend, which I'm a big fan of. But I really like the idea of 2 Keeper of Secrets and Fulgrim running around the table. Obviously, the current Terminators are there. I think this is pretty much... I know people have turned around and said that there's probably going to be more that they haven't shown yet. I don't think there is. I think what we've been seeing is pretty much what we're getting. And I don't think we're going to get any more models until 11th edition. So yeah, I'm not overly worried. What we've got is absolutely insanely good. So straight away, Fulgrim is getting a new book called The Perfect Son, because of course he is. He is the perfect son. He's perfect in all of his little weird hentai, hedonistic, body horror kind of ways. But yeah, that model's just insane. Then we get Lucius the Eternal. Pardon me. Now, I like this model. I've seen a lot of people criticize it. My only criticism would be the blackness of the armor, especially up here on the chest and on the shoulder pads. I would have probably done that the vibrant pink, just like if you watch the episode of Hammer and Bolter, where he's featured in that. He has obviously got more pink on him, and I would probably put that down to that. So yeah, I like this. I like him a lot, and I really can't wait to get him and paint him up. I like the fact that we have such a lore sort of massive piece of 40k history, 30k history on this miniature, which is the Larian Blade. Now, if you haven't read Fulgrim, this is the sword that had a demon's essence in it, that essentially is what corrupted Fulgrim to Slanesh and basically had him turn to chaos, basically. There is a really cool alternative Horus heresy called the Dorian heresy, and that sword, rather than Fulgrim finding it, is found by Jakatai Khan, and the white scars fall to Slanesh instead. And it's, yeah, very, very cool. But that sword is so iconic for 40k, and to now actually see it in the game on a miniature is really, really cool. You can really sort of nerd out on that, and it's pretty impressive. Yeah, he still has his weird tongue whip hentai and his combat drugs, and his face looks like he's been smashed around a bit, and he's got a face like only a mother could love, which is really cool. Then we have this guy, which is the Lord of Excellent. He's basically an Emperor's Children Lord on foot, basically. Which was pretty cool about this is it is a multi-part kit, so you are going to be able to build 3 different variants. I quite like that one with the pole arm and the power fist. This one's pretty cool with the whip and the sonic blaster pistol, and I really like the weird messed up head. And then you kind of get the same sort of messed up head again, but slightly in a different way. And then obviously classic power sword and plasma pistol. But yeah, absolutely stunning. I really love the differences in the black. So you've got this real sort of bluey, tealy colour to the leather, and then you've got this dark grey colour to the power armour, which is really, really nice. And then the vibrant pinks for the pink, which is cool. And then they've got this really pale pink for this as well, which is so awesome. Then you've got this guy, the Lord Cacophonist. Basically, he's the Noise Marine guy, basically. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is the one that you can add into a Noise Marine unit, and he gives them Sustained 3, I believe. I believe it's Sustained 3. I could be wrong with the level of Sustain, but he definitely gives them Sustain. But I really like that. This just screams like old school 2nd edition Rogue Trader era 40k, which, like, for someone who's been around that long, like I have, that's really, really cool. Then we get the Noise Marines themselves, and these are just insane. They're so lovely. They are on 40mm bases because they're chunky boys. They've got big ass guns. There's a unit of 6 of them, which is really cool. And they're pretty much essentially like Noise Marine, Emperor's Children Havocs, essentially. So they're like your heavy weapon squads for your Chaos Warband, which is cool. They used to sort of be the mainstay troop for Emperor's Children, but it's kind of nice that they're now sort of put into that sort of fire support, sort of heavy firepower type role. And then some of the details that they have on them, like, this is just beautiful. Like the Blastmaster and the sonic weapons, just so cool. I love the fact that on the Blastmaster you actually have a volume dial on it. I think that's just, yeah, so good. But yeah, looking forward to getting my hands on these. They just look so good to paint. And then these guys, the Flawless Blades. There is so much to talk about these. This is just one variant of how to build them. There is a photo later on that they've shown in the video as well of the alternative build of these with the different heads and stuff. They are really, really cool. Basically, they're Palatine Blades, the sort of elite infantry unit that the Legion had during the Heresy, and this is what they kind of messed into. They've kind of got some demonic gifts, and they're on their way down to becoming essentially demon princes or spawns themselves, which is cool. They also get 2 units, battle line units. I'm expecting this unit to be a dual kit, so you get a close combat variant, which is what these guys are. There's a real nice, subtle nod to the 30k miniatures here with the Mark 6 kit, and I think that's what they've used as a basis for this. Like that Mark 6, and I believe that this is the first time we've seen a Mark 6 helmet on a Chaos Space Marine. Which is really, really cool. So yeah, that's pretty nice. I don't think we've ever seen a Mark 6 done up as a Chaos Space Marine before. Again, we've got another one there, and these sort of classic sort of heads. And then, we've got the classic Slanesh head. But yeah, absolutely stunning miniatures. Really can't wait to get them. And obviously they come with a shooty version, so you can go pew 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 pew. Now I hope they are a dual kit, that you get to build one or the other, and they're not like, here's the close combat one, here's the guns one, because I think if you build one and you have quite a few spare parts, you could probably pick up a normal generic Chaos Space Marine squad and add the spare parts into them, and you could really go to town on them. So that would be kind of cool. And then obviously this is all dropping in the sexiest of sexy launch boxes, which is the Champions of Slanesh. I am 100% definitely getting one of these, and I can't wait. So you basically get 2 units of Noise Marines, 2 units of the Battle Line units, so the normal regular Chaos Space Marines, and then the Lord in there as well, and then the Codex, the decals, and the Data Slates, which is cool. And they are also getting a Codex, which is super nice. I'm guessing that these 3 lovely ladies on here are Demonettes. If they're not Demonettes, then what the actual hell is that thing? I think they're Demonettes. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. Absolutely awesome. They are getting a Spearhead Vanguard Combat Patrol box, which I believe has 10 of these guys in it. Either the close combat or these guys. It has 10 of them in it. And it has 6 of the Flawless Blades in it, and then it has the Lord in it, I believe. I don't think you get the... yeah, it doesn't say anything. In the article doesn't talk about the Combat Patrol, but yeah, they talked about it during the video, during the live stream. But yeah. But that's it. That's literally the previews. Like, absolutely insane amount of stuff, and I think it's going to be a really, really cracking year for Warhammer. And obviously, we've still got more news to come in regards to the Amazon stuff. You know, are we actually going to get a synopsis and a logo of what potentially is coming? Either way, I think it's going to be 2025 is going to be an interesting year for 40k and Age of Sigmar, the Heresy and the Old World. You know, are we getting a new edition? I think if they haven't really said anything by March time for Adepticon or Gen Con or whichever one that one is, then I don't think there's going to be one coming, because I think by that point we would have known, and that's when they would start like showing it. But the fact that we're almost at the end of January and there's absolute zero pictures or anything of anything new edition related kind of makes me feel that it's probably not happening. But that's the video. That's the stream. Thank you very much. I do apologize for being late, and I will be back next week. I'm sure we'll be talking about something. I'll have a think, but you'll keep an eye on it and it'll pop up. And again, you can follow me on here by hitting the subscribe button, liking, comment, and all that stuff. You can find me over on TikTok. I've got an ongoing started a new painting sort of guide thing for the Sanguinor, which is I've done there. So part 1 is up there already, which is all about the gold armor, which is kind of cool. And yeah, and I'm also on Instagram and stuff. But if you want to follow me on, like, support me in other ways, like members and stuff like that, or Patreon, you can. You don't have to feel as though you need to, but you know, it's there as an option if you do want to, and it'll be much appreciated. Everything that I do make on the channel goes back into the channel. But yeah, that's the video, and that's the stream. So I'll catch you all next week. I should hopefully be on Tuesday or Wednesday. I want to do this on Tuesday, unless I'm at the club playing. All right, but I will let you know in a due course. Okay.